Hello, Miss Viv.
Hello, beautiful Tiffany. How you be?
Awesome, and you?
Yeah, I'm in my office, as you can see.
And I'm in my new office, as you can see.
Yeah, look at those beautiful trees behind you.
Yay. Hello,
What's our
ladies.
topic for today?
What's that?
What's our topic for today?
Well, what are we going to talk about? Who or what are you creating for? Who or what are you creating for, Viv?
No, who or what are you choosing for?
Choosing for. Yes, which
Yeah.
is, one and the same, really. Choice creates.
Yeah. We wanted to pop in and say hello to everybody. It's been a very interesting ride, I say, for everybody watching this with the whole COVID journey that we're going through, popping out the other end of, creating beyond. So I just had a great conversation with Tiff earlier about choice and how, for me, choice and choosing is this kind of unsung superhero. He's like the invisible hero underneath everything, because we'll often say, look, this showed up, or that happened, or I've manifested this or actualized that. And it's like, what actually created the thing showing up was your choice. So if you look at what you've created recently, good or bad, with no judgment, and look at that and go, okay, so what choice did I make that created that? What choice did I make that created that? Or what will this create if I make this choice? So this is kind of looking at now what you're choosing in the future, where you're choosing it from, because I also realized with the conversation with Tiff, it's like, oh, wow, I'm still choosing from something that's familiar or that I know, which didn't work in the past. So why am I trying to recreate from the same place?
Yeah. And it's, like you said, Viv, everything you think and say also creates your reality and your future. So it's like what's going on in your head that maybe you're not even aware of that is creating what's showing up in your life too. Because every single thing that shows up in your life, you are the creator of. And the cool thing about that is if you created it, you can also uncreate it and change it and create something different. So it is really this superpower and this thing that we all be and have, but actually getting to the point where you can have more awareness of how this stuff works is like an absolute superpower.
And you nailed it there, Tiff, too. It's the awareness of, okay, I've created this. If I've created this, wow, what else can I create? And if you're really good at creating crap, it's like the moment you acknowledge something, you can start to change it. It's when you don't acknowledge it, you can't change it. It's like the elephant in the room. Oh, let's just pretend it's not there. You'll keep creating it. But when you acknowledge, wow, I'm really good at creating conflict, or I'm really good at creating debt, or I'm really good at creating whatever it is, if you start to acknowledge what it is that you've made wrong or you've decided is wrong with your life or where you're at right now, and just go, okay, if I was acknowledging this, if I was acknowledging that I created it, what else could I create beyond this? If you acknowledge that choice is the trump card, it really is the magic wand of your life. If you acknowledge what you're creating and you look at the choices that created that, if it's not palatable, if it's not what you desire, okay, well, what other choices do I have available to me? And how do I out-create myself today? So if you've created a pile of crap, how do I out-create this?
That's a great question. Really great question. And what if it's way easier than you think? Because it's like, how much have we been taught about what's required to create something? Like what you have to do, how long it takes, all of these elements of, essentially a reality that doesn't need to be ours, when you recognize that it is as easy as choice creates. So what would you like to choose? And who or what have you been choosing for? That if you were willing to actually look at what you would like to create and what you would like to have and what you would like to choose, could create a totally different possibility. It's like, what are you aware of that is possible that just by your choice, you could have that show up with ease.
Ooh, so everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, where you're just trying to create it all.
Yeah, right, wrong, good and bad, pop and puddle, nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And it's funny. I don't know if you're at this class, Viv, but in I think it was 2005, there was a class that Gary Douglas did in Australia called the Bullet Class. Were you at that class?
No.
And I remember it so clearly when I'm looking at this idea of choice, because it was a 5-day class and it was created because there were a bunch of people who were taking lots of access classes who wanted a more advanced class. And Gary Douglas was always like, you know, everyone can come, you know, to access. I'm not going to kind of do this thing where it's like only advanced people can come to this thing, but people kept asking and asking and asking. So he created this class called the Bullet Class, which was like the bullet trained consciousness, right? And, you know, I mean, obviously in a 5-day class, there's a lot going on, but the main thing I remember from that class is almost like Gary sitting at the front of the class and going, it's a choice. Everyone was like, oh, but I can't because, and it's so hard and it feels this, and, you know, all the reasons and justifications for why they couldn't choose what they were saying they wanted to choose, which was in this case, you know, consciousness. And he was like, guys, it's a choice. And I remember being in that class going like, but it doesn't feel like a choice, you know? And so, you know, things have changed. You know, if you guys haven't realized that things have changed, like the world has changed, and there is a space and an opening that is available now, that where the ease of what you think should be possible with choice is available in a different way than it's been for ever.
Yeah, thank you, Tiff. And it's just, you know, like when we were discussing, okay, what do we talk about today? And you came up with, okay, so, you know, who or what are you choosing for? We've had like pre-COVID, PC and AC after COVID, or DC during and AC after COVID. It's like, what reference points have you been functioning from? What level of comfort or familiarity have you been making your choices from that have made like maybe little incremental changes? But I just want you to ask yourself something right now. It's like, what did I actually come here to be right now on this earth at this time? So what did I come here to be right here, right now, at this time on this planet? With no judgment, but just in that place of curiosity and going, yeah, there is something there. It's not about defining it or making or taking action, but if you just acknowledge that there is an energy there, that you know something, and okay, well, how can this actualize? What choice can I make that will actualize this? Because it's not really a construct. You know, in the old days, it was like, right, well, you go to university and you get your degree and then you go out and get a job. Now it's almost open. You could choose to create and be and institute anything that you desire right now, that is something that is fun for you, that's light for you, that is a contribution for you, even if it feels like it's completely left of field, you know, or it's not been created before. Is now the time for what you know is possible to be actualized on the planet. And, you know, the choice for me is the adventure of the journey, because instead of having the predictability of it's Monday, it's Tuesday, it's Wednesday, or this is how I create a class, or this is what I do when I go to work, what if now that choice is the 10-second increment of adventure of letting whatever that energy is start to lead you and show you how it wants to be? So you're kind of on this kind of adventure, this magical ride of exploring you and what you have always known is possible.
Nobody wants adventure, do they?
No, they just want the same Monday to Friday.
Same. So I know what it's going to look like. I know what it's going to be like. I know how I'm going to manage and deal with all these things. And it's like, you know, what if you could have way more joy and way more ease? And I love that question, Viv. You kind of, you know, almost passed over of what choice can I make that will allow this to actualize? because it's the choice creates.
Mm.
Simple as that. If there's something that you're choosing, you choosing that creates. And then it's like, what can you choose that will allow it to actualize, which is that choice showing up? And also, what can I be that I've not been willing to be before that will allow this to actualize with ease? And it's not that you don't have to do anything. You may be required to, but if you're willing to be in the question and hear the whispers and follow those and be willing to do or be whatever it takes to have that actualize, what if that could be, you know, like you say, like an amazingly joyful adventure, you know?
Yeah, and that's brilliantly spoken, Tiff. You know, that listening to the whispers. So as an example, about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I got this real tug to just go to the mountains. We're in Queensland at the moment and we're in lockdown, not like Melbourne lockdown, but we can travel within our state. And I have this absolute yearning to go out to the mountains. There's some mountains about 3 hours west of here. And I've been out there nearly every year for probably the last 10, 11 years. It's a very, there's some very special trees out there. And it's the Bunya Mountains. And it used to be the meeting place for all the Aboriginal elders. They would walk from all over Australia to have their yearly corroboree, their yearly meeting. And there's just an energy there that I can't even begin to describe what the energy is amongst the trees and being in that part of the mountains. And I had the inkling about a month ago to go out there, and I went, Andrew's just started a new business. He won't want to go out. And, you know, the house is expensive and it's a big, 5-bedroom place. And anyway, I just pushed it to one side. I didn't ask a question. I pushed it to one side. And then a couple of weeks later, I started to get really ratty and just felt like I just needed to be out in nature. And I just asked some questions and Bunya Mountains popped, and I went, okay. So I went online, and the house is available, which is unusual for this time of year. The house is available for 5 days, and I went, I'm going to book it. And from the moment I booked it, it's like all of these ideas and these creative things have started to flow into my world. And I'm like, I just want to be there now so I can start instituting this, so I don't have to, kind of try and slot these things in around my daily life. It's like I just want to kind of immerse myself in that space for those 5 days. These people that lock themselves away for a week and write a book, they come out the other end and they've written a book, that type of thing. So it's following those whispers. And when you're willing to choose for you, because I'm going, my God, that's more money than I can imagine, that's so decadent, I'm spending it all on me. I went into all the reasons and justifications, the buts, as to why I shouldn't and couldn't. And I just went, you know what, if I was truly choosing for me, is this creating my future? Is this a contribution? And my body just got lighter and lighter. And I went, okay, here's my credit card details booked. So
I love that.
Yeah, and I wasn't choosing from, oh, my partner can't come, or what about my clients, or I've got things scheduled for next week, or there wasn't any of that. I've got to get new tires for the car or whatever it was. It was like, no, this is so super light. This is the whispers that you were talking about. And that's where the adventure begins. So how does it get any better than that?
And that's the beauty. I love that you're talking about as soon as you chose for you, and it's like that great question of, okay, so if I were choosing for me here, what would I choose? And, we've been taught that choosing for you is selfish and all these sorts of things, but what if it's not? What if that's not true? And what if you choosing for you allows, you said all of these ideas and possibilities and I know that so well, and I love that kind of creativity, and one of the other things that keeps showing up in this conversation, which was not at all planned, is the whispers. And, Dane actually has a Dr. Dane here, one of the co-creators of Access Consciousness, has a class coming up very soon. It's a 3-day class, and it is about the whispers of bodies, the universe, and what's the other one? The earth. And it's 3 separate days. And it is all about this, because there's this entire, these entire universes of consciousness that are so ready to contribute to you. And that's where the question as well, and the willingness to receive contribution, plays a huge part in this as well. It's like, what if what you're choosing is not wrong? What if no choice you've ever made is wrong? And what if no choice you will ever make is wrong? And what can you choose now?
Yeah, and yeah, again, beautifully said, Tiff. That whole, you know, if you didn't put any buts in the way, if you didn't put all the reasons and justifications and everybody else and everything else first and started to truly choose for you, and it's not, a guy who I used to see years ago for kinesiology said to me, you know, it's not selfish, it's self-full. And this is one of the greatest lies that traps us, because if we're told as a child we're selfish for choosing for us or not wanting to share our toys or whatever it was, if we were made wrong for that, we start to develop this very skew with relationship with choice and knowing what honors us. Because I can only speak for myself, but I know when I don't get what I want, I get really cranky. You know, when I'm doing something that I don't really want to do, I get grumpy and I get really contracted and I'm a bit, snippy and because I'm making a choice for somebody else. If I ever hear myself even say I have to or I've got to, I'm like, okay, listen to my languaging. I'm already functioning from a sense of obligation rather than, hang on, okay, I might still have to do things, but if I turn it into, okay, I am choosing this, I'm choosing to contribute, you know, it changes the energy on the have to and need to, that it doesn't become this kind of resentment or this obligatory thing that you have to do. And then when you give yourself the space to truly choose, there's such a lightness to it that you start to really recognize and acknowledge and hopefully choose more from that place of lightness rather than the obligation. And it upsets you sometimes too.
Yes, it does. It does, you know, and you've got to be willing to upset people, you know, because people use the upset to control you essentially so that they can get you to do what they want you to do, and what if that is also not a judgeable offense, but what if you can, you know, get to the place where you're like, okay, am I choosing this or not? No, okay, I'm not choosing that. Thank you. You know, and you know, you talking about that stuff that you were just talking about too, Viv, really gave me that sense of, you know, how women, especially, I mean, men do it too, obviously, but women seem to especially do this thing of when we are not choosing for us, we do this weird, underhand, manipulative thing where we try and get what we want in ways that are just like, they can work to get you what you want, but do they create ease and contribution and space and possibilities, or is it just this sense of like,
yeah?
So everywhere that you ladies and gents out there are almost like hiding what you would really like so dynamically that you don't even know what it is, because you have decided that it's not right to choose for you, that it's selfish to choose what you would like. Everything that is times a godzillion, we used to try and create it all.
Yes, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And for any of you not familiar with that gobbledygook, it's called the clearing statement from Access Consciousness, and you can Google theclearingstatement.com if you would like more information on that. But yeah, that's such a great point, Tiff, because it's like we always try and find a way and weasel and wiggle, and sometimes manipulation can be fun, and sometimes manipulation can really create that pushback and that resentment, and it creates less rather than more. It doesn't engage people to want to contribute to you. They get a bit bitchy about it, or they feel, you know, like the obligation. So, you know, part of the Ladies Lounge is how do we access the abilities that we have to create what we desire as a contribution to us and to other people, because there'll be times in your life where you have totally known you've been manipulated, but you've been happy to be manipulated because it's fun to contribute, and it brings a level of joy to know that you can contribute. Like your son, you know, Tiff, he's just gorgeous. It's like, good luck saying no to him. He's just the master manipulator. And this is the other thing. If you're sitting there thinking, I don't manipulate, what if you'd be willing to acknowledge you've learned to manipulate from the moment you took your first breath?
Exactly, because you have to. Exactly. It's like, what noise do I make to get what I want? Like, you know, And what if that's not wrong? That's the thing, is like so many of us make this wrong that, you know, manipulating to get what you want is a bad thing. It's like, well, like you say, we come out doing that. Yeah. Because a kid can't speak words, and most people think that words is the only way you can communicate, which we know it's not. But it's like, what noise can I make? How annoying can I be to get what I want? Like, you know, and what if, you know, in that example, parents or more parents had the awareness of the communication of energy that we have available. And so, you know, it's like a kid doesn't need to create these irritating things to receive what it is that they would like to receive. You know, what if you could have everything?
And learning to use your womanly, wily ways to create something greater. So creating from possibilities, you know, choosing from possibilities what will create more rather than less. So I'm just thinking to my partner's son, you know, he just is relentless. When he wants something, he will just nag and wear you down, and you just get so pissy with him. And I just go, oh God, go away, you know. But if
just have it,
hey,
just have it. Like, if you have what you want, just shut up.
Yeah. And if he was to come in a very different way, you know, the old saying of you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. It's like, it's all in your energy. It's, are you being the invitation? Are you requesting? Are you desiring? Or are you being, you know, a demanding, controlling, manipulative? You can sense the energies in the two. So again, not wrong or right for either of these. It's just building that awareness as to where you're functioning from when you are making that choice, and how you're engaging that choice into your world. Because if you whinge and bitch and carry on to the universe, do you reckon it's going to give you what you want? You know,
and, you know, I love this conversation though, and it's what's really shown me a lot about this is, and I'm glad you brought up Silas, but it is being a parent, which I'm always like, am I one of those? No, but he, you know, one of the things, he will come home from being somewhere, right? And you can tell that he's been manipulating people in a certain way that works, where he's been that day. And then he comes home and he tries to do it at home. And I'm like, all right, so this might work there, which is fine. Like, if you need to do that there to get what you want to get, do it. But it doesn't work here. So understand that it's not like being nicey nice and lovely all the time gets you what you want everywhere. It's like, are you also willing to be a demanding bitch? Are you also willing to be someone that's hated by everyone to get what it is that you would like? And what if that is not wrong?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe I think you and I, Viv, have got some ideas of classes we can do about being demanding bitches. And, you know, there's the book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I was like, what if we do something like how to, I can't remember what it was. Do you remember what it was? How to be a bitch and, I don't know.
Get everything you want.
Get everything you want.
Yeah. So, yeah, great conversation, Tiff. So to leave our listeners, our watchers, our raving fans, our beautiful ladies and gents out there that are watching us, you know, what question can you be that will create what you desire? And what choice can you make that will create what you desire? And just looking back over the things that you've created and just go, okay, so what choice did I make here? Not from judgment or right or wrong, but just from acknowledgement, remembering that anything you acknowledge, you can change. So if you created something amazing, it's like, okay, so what choice did I make that created that? I'll have more of that, please. And it's just this adventure of recognizing. For me, it's like listening to a symphony. When you first learn to play an instrument, you know, you sound awful. It sounds like dog's breakfast. And then whatever dog's breakfast sounds like. And eventually you kind of hit a few sweet notes and it's like, oh yeah, that sounds beautiful. And then you add to those sweet notes and then you start to create a tune. So this is a way of you recognizing how you create, you know, how your choice creates, how Tiff said, what you think and what you speak and even what you be is what creates. If you're being an energy that invites people, you know, when Silas is being him, it's like, oh my God, he can have the world, he can have the moon, I'll do anything. And when he's being a little tyke, it's like, bugger off, I'm not playing dinosaurs with you, leave me alone. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. I love it. And you know, I love how you're talking about that symphony thing and kind of building on that. And it's like, how often are we not choosing for fear of getting something wrong? You know, and if you are willing to get it wrong and be wrong and have something show up that's not what you decided you think, you know, you should have in the way you think you should have it, then, you know, you start to refine your awareness of how this choice thing works. And it becomes easier and easier and easier, and you become more aware of what works and what doesn't. And it's just like a world of fun. So don't have any fun. Oh, no, you've got something else to say.
I was just going to say, and the ease, you tapping into that, Tiff, the ease, it's like you don't even think about it. You're being an energy that creates your life for you. There's no hardness. There's no force. There's no foreplanning. There's no, you know, choreographing. You're just in this beautiful dance with the universe because you're aware of what is fun to choose, what does make you feel light, what does add to your happiness, what does create your future. And you start to embody that, where things start to find you, situations, and you're in the right place at the right time. And it's not a construct, which is the old way of how we used to choose and create. This is a very different way where it becomes a lot more ease-filled and magical and fun, and things show up a lot more quickly. So don't choose to ask any of these questions in your life.
No.
It's terrible.
And how many choices can you make today that will create more ease and more of what you would like to have right away?
Yeah. And
awesome.
On that note, it's good night from me, and it's good night from her.
Ciao, Bellas.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Tiff. Mwah, love ya.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.